Let's get one thing straight. Muscle is not just for bodybuilders. It's for everyone. Whether you're 25, 55, or 85, building muscle and maintaining muscle plays a critical role in longevity for one simple reason. Strong muscles equal a strong body. Let's dive in. You're at a family gathering, watching your 80-year-old uncle crush it on the dance floor. He's moving with the kind of energy you barely see in 40-year-olds. You wonder, how does he still have so much strength and stamina? The answer is not magic, it's muscle. Building muscle is the fountain of youth most people are completely overlooking, while everyone's out there chasing quick fixes, miracle supplements. The real key to aging well is something a little more old school, strength training. And no, this is not just about looking good in your genes, though there's bonus points for that. We're talking about increasing your chances of living longer, staying mobile, and staying independent. And I know it's not sexy that, we think that far out. Obviously, there are short-term benefits, whether it's in cold season, just improving your immunity towards those things, staying healthy, staying, staying energetic, being able to keep up with your kids. There's obviously short-term benefits, but some of the most important ones are just living happier, healthier, and longer, and just not just increasing lifespan, but health span. And I know that's not the sexy answer, but you don't have to crash after 40, after 50, after 60. We can keep doing things and extending our youthful performance in life.
You hear it from, I'm sure everybody has heard it from someone elder in their life. Oh, just wait till you get my age. And they kind of go off on this little rant. But you don't have to just wait until you hit a certain age for life to start to decline. You have so much in your control and in your power of how that looks. And it has nothing to do with how old you are. Like a recent study just came out. I'm going off the top of my head here, but I think they looked at 85 plus year olds, can build the same amount of muscle at the same rate as somebody who's in their earlier 60s. So that to me, it just tells us that it is literally never too late to start to live the life that you want to live. It does not matter how old you are. You can start today and you can start to see those short-term benefits and also just make your life that much more enjoyable as you do get older. It is silly to think about, and most people are not thinking about this. Like most people in their 20s, teens, 20s, and 30s are not of the mindset of thinking about how they're going to feel when they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, because we're just so like, we feel invincible almost. Maybe once you hit 30, you start to think about it a little bit more. But like, look at any 20-year-old. They don't give a crap about many things as far as like what life might look like then.
I was destroying my body at 20, and I was literally saying I'll deal with it later. Like, this is something I can fix later. Later came a lot faster than I thought it would. When I was 21 is when I was diagnosed with Barrett's esophagus. Now, obviously, that's an extreme because I was destroying my body with the amount of unregulated supplements that I took, with the amount of alcohol that I was drinking,
but
smoking a ton of weed.
People can relate to that.
They can relate to that. I'm saying I was an extreme example, but you're right. Everyone goes into it saying, I'll worry about that later. This isn't something I need to deal with right now. It's the exact same mindset.
Or you're just of the mindset of maybe you are dealing with something very common like IBS, or I don't know what else is common out there that people deal with.
Just fill in the blank, and it's just settling for the norm. It's normal now. Being overweight, the most obvious one.
Right. It does not have to be something that you just deal with. Like you have, I wish I could just like, I just want to shake people sometimes and be like, you have so much control over your life. And we've talked about this a lot recently, I feel like, in many aspects, but you do have way more control than you think as far as how you feel on a day-to-day basis. Even if you're at ground zero right now, many of you aren't, but even if you are, there is so much you can do to change. But step number one is believing that you can change in the first place. We're kind of getting off on a little tangent from the original.
Well, it's important backtext and backstory. And It also plays a role, or what plays a role in people's mindsets and the way they view these things is just the way that authority figures speak upon it, the way that statistics present what is inevitable when it doesn't need to be inevitable. So, very rough estimates, but, once you hit, and this is why you should be focusing on this at the age of 30 and beyond, especially, but you can do this even younger. You lose around 10% of your testosterone levels. They reduce, starting at age 30 each decade. The process of naturally losing muscle mass. So sarcopenia starting in your 30s is 3 to 5% on average per decade, and that'll accelerate as you get older. But that's the norm. Those are the statistics based on the norm. It doesn't need to be your outcome. Those things happen because you naturally get busier. You have more responsibilities. You're probably not moving as much or lifting as often. So, the phrase, if you don't use it, you lose it, that's really applied to your health and fitness more so than the other way most people refer to that term for. If you aren't continually focusing on these practices, you don't continually maintain the benefits.
What are people using that term for?
Your dick.
Oh.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
I don't think
Have you never seen the 40-year-old virgin?
I had not, in probably 15 years.
Were you thinking about that through the rest of that sentence and the last?
I just didn't know where you were going because that's what I thought.
No.
I learned it as the principle of reversibility, which is if you don't use it, you lose it.
It's talking about your wiener.
Okay.
If you don't use it, you lose it. 40-year-old virgin. Steve Carell.
Dr. Walsh at CCSU said that. So
I don't know if the movie was out.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
It came out.
We're old now.
All right. Well, there you go, guys.
So that is the good news. You can slow down, stop, or even reverse this process. And more data is coming out about actually reversing your aging, the supplements you can take, the lifestyle you can be living. And for a lot of you, it's going to be really easy. If you're currently overweight, if you're currently dealing with some comorbidities and any kind of health ailment, simply healing is reverse aging.
And if you're not doing any sort of progressive strength training right now, the good news is you will literally get all of those, what we call newbie gains. So the process happens a lot faster for somebody who is a new lifter versus somebody who has a lot of muscle on their body already and is more intermediate or advanced. That's not to say those people can't make progress, because here we are. But if you are starting from scratch, or let's say you have only followed Instagram workouts or follow along YouTube videos and it hasn't been progressive, you're still going to see those progressive strength gains right off the bat because it's not something that you've done in that way before, which is really, I think it's empowering.
Absolutely. And to kind of throw some science behind muscle and longevity, studies do in fact show that people with more muscle mass tend to live longer than those with less. A study published in the American Journal of Medicine found that muscle mass was positively associated with longevity, meaning the more muscle you have, the better chance you have of living a longer, healthier life. A lot of you have seen people talking about on Instagram grip strength. That's been like the main correlation. If you have grip strength, you're positively associated with living longer. That's specifically related. It's not that you can walk around holding your groceries or holding 45-pound plates, or it's nothing to do with grip strength. It's the fact that you have more strength and that you have more muscle. Obviously, your grip strength is going to be better. So that's just the metric they utilize to measure how strong you are, and not necessarily your muscle, but that's typically associated with that. And why is that? Really because muscle is your metabolic gold. It's going to help you regulate blood sugar, improve your metabolism, and even contribute to better bone density. So you fall, you're not going to break your hip. Plus, strong muscles do protect your joints. Again, improving daily movements like walking, bending, lifting, those things that typically get harder as you age. There are also some cardiovascular benefits. We're not replacing cardio with strength training, but it is going to keep your heart strong, improve circulation, all those good things that we're looking for. So it's, again, not just to look good when you're walking around. That's typically a side benefit, but there is actual scientific reasoning behind why things change in your anatomy.
Lifting literally is for every age type of human. Everybody should be lifting. I'm a firm believer. It doesn't matter what else you like to do. You can combine it with other things. Whether you're a teenager, whether you're in your young adulthood, whether you're in your middle-aged era, or you're an older adult, everybody should be lifting. Back when I was in school, we would visit the local senior center, or I guess it was technically a senior center, but they lived there, and we would go and help them learn how to lift weights. We started with basic body weight movements because, they were elderly, but we would go and we would bring some light 5-10 pound weights. We would do certain things with them, whether they were in a wheelchair or standing, and we would get these people moving and lifting, because there are, like you said, so many benefits. And if you do this now, and if you gain the muscle now, you're not going to have to go through life dependent on someone else to go to the bathroom or to change your clothes or to be able to drive your car longer or live by yourself for longer once you get to that point. So again, not any of the sexy reasons that you think most people want to gain muscle, but all of those things start now. They start today. They start with wherever you are right now, and you can severely impact in such a positive way how the rest of your life looks. And to me, that's why I show up every day, even though it's not directly related to my life right now. Yes, there are other reasons, but when I have that long-term view in mind, that keeps me going on the days too that I just don't want to be there, because we have those days. We don't always want to go out in the gym and lift. Like sometimes I literally dread it, but knowing that it makes me better and knowing that it's contributing to my overall muscle mass, like that's why I go out there. I don't go out there to get a big butt or...
Why?
That's not my main goal anymore.
It's 1B.
It's fine. It's part of it, but it's not the main reason. And I wish more people had that mindset of doing this
For the butt?
is going to not just make my butt look great. It's going to allow me to lift my kids up. Or what if, I don't know, I'm the type of person that thinks of like, I don't want to say the bad things, but like, what if like we're on a hike? What if I take the kids on a hike by myself and something happens and Kai hurts his ankle and I have to carry his 40-pound body back to 3 miles to the car? Would I be able to do that right now? Yes. But most people, would they be able to do that and carry their 1-year-old on their back? I don't know. So you have to think, maybe that's a little morbid and like negative.
I go way darker than that. Mine, like the apocalypse protocol, is literally for the end of the world with everything going to shit. And I hope that changes. And I hope that once we pass elections and we all realize that we're on the same team, I hope things get better.
20 more days.
What's that?
20 more days, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. 21. Is it Tuesday?
Yeah.
I don't know. But no, that was what the apocalypse protocol was created for. It's mental strength, it's resilience, it's physical strength, being capable. Let's take a little tangent here. When things were getting nuts a few years ago and, you know, there was all this push to defund the police. We actually had a podcast that that first week when that became like a very loud message. This is when we were still living at your parents, when the house was being built. Ran out to the garage. I was infuriated. I'm like, people are so ignorant and so oblivious. If you remove the police, who is coming to save you? If there is a riot on your front lawn, someone's kicking your door down, how many of you can defend yourselves? If you have nobody to call, how many of you can do a damn thing about it? 99.9% of you won't survive the week. You would be like those calling for defund, or who were calling for the defunding of the police, take their guns away, make it like the other guys, give them the wooden pistol just for show. What the fuck would you do? Because you can't survive on your own. So back to the morbid place that I take this to. If the world does go to shit, if we do have nuclear events and society is no longer as we are gifted with now, even though things aren't ideal, it's a blessing to be where we are. Things are convenient, things are easy.
We're safe.
And we're safe. If we get to a place where that is not the case, how many of you can hunt? How many of you can walk more than 3 miles? How many of you can defend yourselves? How many of you can do any of those things that require or are required to survive the year? Take care of yourself, take care of your family, be mentally resilient enough to not just sit down and cry and die that way. Because that's where most of the planet is, especially our country, but most of the planet. We bicker over these small, silly things that in the grand scheme of things mean nothing. When we should be focusing on developing our communities. So A, we have that external support. You're surrounded by people who care about you and will do anything for you, family and all around you, not just family and friends. I'm talking about the community. Improving your ability to survive as a singular human, strength, training, cardio, meditation for your mental health. All these things, like I said, built into the apocalypse protocol so that in the worst case scenario, you are your own superhuman. You are your own soldier. You are your own fill in the blank. You can survive. You can take care of your family. You can protect your family, because that is not where anyone is right now. And it's a blessing that that isn't a necessity. But in the case that it ever becomes one, which isn't off the table, and I pray to God that that never is on the table, but if it ever came to that place, most of you should be, I don't want to say this to fearmonger, but in this morbid hypothetical situation, you should be terrified. And that should be what motivates you, or a piece of it. We'll get back to, finding your why in different episodes. One thing that I've started doing recently, I'm going through The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Is that the right name? That book?
I think so.
And it's just talking about developing a personal mission statement. You can do it for business. That happens all the time. But a personal mission statement, like, what is your purpose of being here? And I've taken that a step further for where every goal that I have, I attach a mission statement to that. And that's something where, if you're not familiar with the book, it's basically going from being like emotion driven to being principle driven. So rather than reacting, we're proactive and saying, this is the outcome I want to achieve. And then we make decisions based on that outcome in the future. So it's building character, building your life around principles, rather than I'm going to do this because I don't feel like doing that, or because I had this reaction to this. So that's a steadying force. It's a steadying factor. And that's something that can be incredibly powerful when you do apply that to goals. So I want to get strong. I want to get healthy. Something that you can use, I mean, it's not going to be very strong and hold up against, I don't feel like doing this today, is I want to look good in a bathing suit. I want to feel better with my shirt off, which are fine reasons. Like, you want to feel better in your own skin. Even more powerful than that, I want to be self-reliant. I want my family to be able to rely on me. I want to be able to survive an apocalypse. Things that are, again, bigger driving factors where I may not feel like doing this, but because of that, because of the end goal, beginning with the end in mind, I have to do this today. And then once you get started, things get easier. It's just getting your foot in the door for whatever the task is to achieve that goal, establishing the consistency with those habits. Long tangent, all of that to say, we are not in a place that we should be. And everything we put out, these podcasts, the daily blogs we've been putting up, that's been really fun to put out. Content just across social media, a couple podcasts we're giving to you guys a week. Our goal is to create stronger communities. Like, we want you to live happier, healthier lives. And selfishly, that's for my kids, because I want them to grow up in a better community than the way things are right now. I want everyone to be happier. I want everyone to be healthier. I want to go out and feel good and see happy, healthy people. I want my kids to grow up around that. And obviously, there's a whole lot more that goes into it, but that's the role we're going to play. That's why we're doing everything we're doing. That's why we put out so many free resources. And for those who need a little more guidance, we have paid resources. So whatever direction you want to take it, that's why we're doing what we're doing. And that's why we are encouraging you all to create change. Through awareness, we create change. We're giving you the awareness so that you can create the change.
Yeah. And listen, like, I know a lot of you do have those physical aesthetic goals. Like, we're not saying those
Nothing
things
wrong. I have them
are
too.
bad. We do have them ourselves. But it needs to be more than that. It cannot just be that alone, or else you are going to be the person that only shows up when you're feeling like it, or only shows up when you're in the mood to. And that's just not, it's not going to get you to where you want to be, and it's not going to last even if it does. So you need to have a deeper why and a deeper reason for showing up than just that. And this goes into muscle gain and muscle building too. Like, a lot of women out there still are afraid to build muscle, not realizing that the more muscle they have is actually going to give them everything that they want when it comes to body composition, when it comes to just how they feel on a daily basis. You don't have to eat 1,200 calories per day, do hours of cardio, and lift light weights for 1,000,000 reps. Like, you can be so much more empowered and feel so much better and fuel yourself so much better and just look better and all of the things by doing things in a different way than what the media has taught you over the last 20, 30 years. So,
agreed. So let's talk about how to build muscle, and we'll even take that a couple extra words. How to build muscle for longevity. So improving all the things we've been talking about, but really it's about building muscle. So number one, strength training is your new best friend. And if you're not already strength training, now is the time to start. That's lifting weights, body weight exercises, resistant bands, whatever works for you. And then if you're short on time, short on equipment, maximizing what you're doing with heavier compound movements, squats, deadlifts, push-ups, targeting muscle, multiple groups at once, giving you more bang for your buck. But bottom line, strength training, and leave it blanketed like that for now because we'll get into a little bit more specifics, but just doing it and figuring out a way that you can do it. So just even right within our app, we have multiple programs, the SDE Method app, for if you're training at home, training at the gym, if you have a full gym set up at home or you're going to that full gym, or if you just have dumbbells, bands, and body weight.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to overhaul and you don't have to invest thousands of dollars into gym equipment or in a gym membership. You can, but use what you have. Even if what you have is just your body, you can still perform resistance training movements and do them consistently to get the benefits that we're talking about.
A lot of people think they have to do things at the most ideal, optimal way, the way that's up here, and they're not currently doing anything. So they think that if they don't do it this one certain way that everybody's talking about, then they should just not waste their time. That could not be further from the truth. If you are not doing anything right now, doing body weight in a band program that we have in the app, like that's going to get you feeling really great, even if that's where you start. And eventually maybe you work your way up the ladder to get to that optimal place, but you don't need to go from here to here if you're not doing anything at all. Cause that's honestly what's holding a lot of people back, is they think that things have to be XYZ laid out to perfection, when in reality, you're going to see great progress and work your way up the ladder. So just a reminder for anybody out there listening who does feel that way. Like, yes, we're going to get into more of the specifics here on the optimal stuff, but overall, just start strength training. Like, that is number one most important thing.
So number one, strength training, blanketed statement. Number two, progressive overload within that strength training. So getting stronger over time. Progressive overload is the idea of gradually increasing the weight reps, ideally intensity if you're starting off a little bit scaled back there, over time. So start small, but always strive to do a little more than you did the week before. It could literally be 2.5 pounds. That's progressive overload. It could be one more rep. That is progressive overload. It's the same stimulus, but improved over time. So the same workouts, we're not changing those every week, every day. Minimum program length, guys, needs to be 4 weeks. That's the minimum amount of time to adapt to that stimulus. That can be anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, to be honest, and you could probably extend that even further. It's really about hammering home the basics and continuing with that to see the progress over time.
You can't get good at something if you're switching it up every week. Like, that's just never going to happen. And I can't tell you how many DM conversations I've had recently where women are frustrated that they're not seeing the progress that they want to see. And I ask them, like, oh, well, what are you doing? Like, tell me a little bit more about your training program. And it's always work YouTube follow along videos that they change every week, or it was Beachbody, now it's I think just Body, TV workouts, and they're not progressive, or if they are progressive, the people doing them are not actually increasing weight or changing anything. Like, they're sticking with the same workouts every week, but they're not actually pushing the weight, which is also holding you back. So again, that's a great start, but if you're frustrated with your lack of progress, you're not getting stronger, you're not seeing changes in your body composition, you're not feeling like your muscles are getting more defined, that could be a big part of it. And a lot of people are still very confused about that.
Well, here's a way to really simplify it. If you are confused why you are strength training, even if they're different movements, if you're strength training and you're not seeing progress because you're switching your routines all the time, that is literally like practicing golf one week and then practicing basketball the next week and then practicing football the next week and wondering why you still suck at golf. It seems a little different because you're still resistance training, but that is the exact correlation, because you're doing different things. Even though they seem similar, you're playing different sports. So one sport is not going to improve at all because you already jumped over to the next sport. You cannot get better without committing to that one thing, that one program for a specific amount of time before you can start moving on to the next thing. That's the biggest reason you aren't seeing progress. You're playing different sports.
And same thing with the people looking for new exercises or new combinations of movements to try every week. Like, we have been doing the same basic movements for the last 10 plus years. 10 plus years. Same stuff. Different variations of those basic movements of squats, lunges, push, pull, all the things like that. But 10 years, there hasn't been any fancy new, we haven't come across like, oh, this new, I don't even know what to call it. Like, we're going to try
weights.
this today.
Do
like,
some shake weights.
that has not impacted things at all. So let us be an example to you there as well.
You know, you can pay for all these fancy apps in the world and brand name whatever. Our app isn't very expensive. And if you're following along with it, as thousands of people have been, they're kicking ass.
I just got a DM from someone that was like...
Read the one from the other day who said they were never going to follow another program, or they weren't going to jump in. They were doing fine, and then they started, and it was like awesome.
She said she's a lifer. But no, there was another... I just got one yesterday from someone who's been following me for a while, and she's like, I just clicked the app page today. Is it really $24.99 for all those things that you mentioned, like the hybrid program, the pregnancy program, the postpartum program? She like was baffled that we only charged $24.99. She's like, I literally thought it was a lot more than that. So we are really doing our best to keep it affordable and to keep this accessible to as many people as possible. That's why we give you everything. We don't place limits on what you get access to. We don't make you pay more for certain programs. We want you to have it all because we want you to start and be consistent no matter what your phase of life looks like.
And we are investing so much money to bring so many more things in the pretty near future. And again, it's selfish. This is for my kids. I want you all to be better so that my kids have a better place to grow up in. That's my mission. So let's keep on rolling. Number 3, protein. Building muscle requires fuel, and protein is the building block for muscle.
Yep.
What's your current recommendation for protein? Has that shifted a little bit over time for you?
Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is just 1 gram per pound of your body weight. Like, you don't need to get super particular with it. That can range though from anywhere from 0.7 to 1.3 grams per pound of your body weight, depending on how heavy you weigh right now. Like if you're somebody who is clinically overweight or obese, you might want to be on the lower side of that. But you know, it's a range, and it doesn't have to be perfect every day. But if you're within that range every day, you are good to go. During pregnancy, I actually like to eat a little more protein, just because your baby is literally being made. Protein is like a huge part of every cell in your body. So there's been some research to show that even more, I think it was Lily Nichols that recently talked about how pregnant women can have even more protein and it will benefit them compared to an elite athlete. So don't be afraid of protein. And there's so many ways you can get it in. Like you don't have to just eat chicken breast and protein shakes all day. I just had a huge bowl of Greek yogurt and I added a scoop of protein powder to it. But if I just did the bowl of Greek yogurt alone, it was 18 grams of protein, just the yogurt. Add in some nut butter, add in some different various things. And my bowl was 50 grams of protein by the end of it. So you can get creative with it. It doesn't have to be this like untasty, boring thing. But I think the biggest piece of advice I want to give about protein intake is just look at what you're consuming currently and increase your current serving sizes. So if you're somebody who has like a chicken sandwich or a chicken salad for lunch and you put a tiny little piece of chicken on there that's maybe 2 ounces, just add a few more pieces of chicken and call it a day. You don't need to incorporate a ton of different protein snacks throughout your day to hit your numbers. Like just increase what you're already eating.
And this is something that's important to highlight for those of you who eat out a lot. Like even adding a serving of protein to a salad, like it's maybe 15 grams of protein if you're lucky. Like these are tiny portion sizes when it comes to protein. Carbs and fats are overly available in the convenient methods. Protein is very, very, very undervalued, underappreciated, underutilized when you're going out to eat. So just be very cognizant of that, making sure that if you do eat out a lot, prioritize protein, prioritize the whole food choices on the menu as much as possible. And then around the rest of your day, make sure you're upping protein to really even that out. You're going to come in low.
I mean, even if you don't eat out a lot, though, how many people out there are eating 1 to 2 eggs at breakfast? That's like maybe 10 grams of protein if it's a larger egg. 1 egg is not going to cut it. Like you need to find ways to increase that. So like I'll have 3 eggs, for example. That's still not a ton of protein. That's 15 grams. We really like the One Mighty Mill bread, which has 5 grams of protein per slice. So that bumps me up to 25 grams of protein. So little things like that can help you increase that in one meal are going to be key.
Yeah, I have 5 eggs, and that's still too low for me. That's on a large egg. That's
like
still
thinking
35
about
grams.
eating one egg, like I wouldn't
point?
even bother.
What is the point? I'll do the 5 eggs. Sometimes I'll chop up a few pieces of chicken sausage with that. Sometimes it's the the Mighty Mill bread. Sometimes it's protein oats that Cora ends up eating half of. Peanut butter. Did I say protein? I meant
You said protein.
Peanut butter oats, not protein oats. Peanut butter oats, chia seeds, flax seeds, scoop peanut butter, raisins, and
chocolate cacao powder or whatever.
yes. Yep. So I'll end up being 50 to 60 grams for that breakfast. Number 4, rest and recovery, because you are not a machine. So you really need to focus on getting at least 1 rest day per week. For some of you who love living in the gym, just take that 1 active rest day. And we say active now, not just a straight couch day. You can still move your body, go out for a hike, go do some fun stuff. But you need time to repair yourself and to reduce that cumulative fatigue so that you can bring the intensity at the optimal level. So a lot of people who are on the other end of the spectrum, they're not inactive, they're overactive, need that reminder to scale things back a little bit and take that active day.
Yeah. Now, however, most of you listening probably are not in that crowd, just because most people are not. Most people are not getting the recommended amounts of physical activity daily. So like Josh mentioned, a rest day is not just sit on your butt all day, but also your 1 hour training session, if it's even an hour, is not enough movement either. So don't be afraid to get up and move, set an alarm every hour. If you're at work all day, just move your body in little bits throughout the day. That's going to add up over time, and it's going to honestly help you feel less stiff and less sore and help you recover better by getting a light walk in or some light movement in. That's also going to help recovery.
And number 5, staying consistent. Rome was not built in a day. With habits, we talk about this unbreakable chain, these small things that lead to dramatic transformations over time, and we keep them small so that there's no reason we skip them. So setting realistic standards, if you can only start with 2 resistance training days a week, that's fine. If you're doing 0, that is an improvement. More things are happening in those 2 days. If you can only lift for 20 minutes, I have plenty of days like that as well. That is better than 0 minutes. So set up a structure where you're not going to skip days. This is a non-negotiable, like a doctor's appointment. I can always get these 2 days in. I can always train for 20 minutes. Here's what my program is going to look like at the start. And then, I can build on this over time as this becomes more consistent, as I find more time, as I get more efficient with this stuff. But without consistency, none of the progress, none of the benefits happen.
And listen, there are certain things that you're going to see an immediate return on. There's a lot that you're not going to see immediate progress on. We live in the Amazon Prime era where we want things like that. But a lot of this stuff, including building muscle, is going to take longer than you think it's going to take. You can't be at this for a month and expect an entire body transformation when you've been not doing things optimally for years and years and years. So give yourself time, understand that things are happening even if you cannot see them yet, and don't let the lack of visible progress deter you from continuing, because it often just takes a little more time than you think.
I also wanted to highlight too, you brought this up before, you were alluding to it, and I wanted to really highlight it. But in this day and age when most people, their jobs are sedentary, like it's not like half the population is in carpentry and half is in plumbing and half is in farming. Obviously those fractions didn't add up, but you get the point of my message. Most people work at a desk. Most people have sedentary jobs. So prioritizing, planning, scheduling out activity, workouts, it is more important now than ever, because if you're not planning them ahead of time, if you're not proactively seeking them out and doing them, you come in, and this is why we are where we are, is the state of the world. You come in very, very, very underactive. You come in with very low muscle mass. We come in very overweight. This has to become the priority. This has to be something you proactively set out to do. So I just wanted to highlight that quick point. Just, we are not set up for success at the moment, be it our environment, be it the age that we live in. It's very convenient, which is a blessing. Again, it's a blessing, but we do have to take the time to go out of our way to take care of ourselves.
Surprisingly, our jobs are also very sedentary.
Yeah.
We sit here on the podcast. We sit on our laptops. We are online business owners. So there's not really much back and forth except for the time that we take to prioritize our workouts and get our walks in throughout the day. So at the start of each week, and honestly, every week looks different between the kids stuff and what we have going on with our business. There is no set like, okay, I'm working 9 to 4 today and that's it. And I have a lunch break from 12 to 1. Like it never looks the same on a day-to-day basis. So what I do is at the start of each week, I look at our Google Calendar that we share and I literally plan out exactly when I'm going to work out. Now, lately, I've been doing my early morning workout. So like before the kids get up, I get my lift in. I've been slacking a little on the cardio. So like this week I looked at our schedule and I said, okay, like these days we have childcare help. I'm going to plan to get in a 30-minute ride or run for 30 minutes here. And I literally schedule it in like an appointment because I know if I don't do that, it's really easy to say, oh, well, I want to do that, but I also really want to finish this task for work or whatever it is. Like it's easy to just let it fall to the wayside. So if that is something that you struggle with and you're trying to be proactive, literally schedule it in. And I know it sounds silly because it's like obvious almost, but at the same time, it's not happening because you're not prioritizing it. So make it a priority just like you would work or the kids.
Yeah, we'll blink and hours be going by like, oh my God, it's 3:00. How did that happen? I hardly moved today. But when we do get up, we kind of are aware of that, and then we'll do a little extra something, take the kids for a walk if, it's our shift to be with the kids, whatever that looks like. I have not been great about waking up early, but I am back to that grind. I'm training fasted again. I started that last week because I skipped so many workouts in the last 3 weeks because of all the stuff we have going on for work right now. It just was getting kicked to the back burner. There was no ideal time to stop and just go work out. Half the time I did it, half the time I wouldn't. I still I'm doing Evolve Hybrid, so luckily, it's very flexible. It's only 4 days a week, and I can bang out those sessions. And if I needed to, I think my record is 22 minutes on one of the longer ones, just doing trisets and giant sets to get them done. But I had to make that shift. There was no reason to, seeing the trend, there was no reason to continue that, knowing, hey, if I wake up earlier, if I train fasted, ideal? No, not ideal. But it keeps me consistent. And that is the most critical factor. It is the common denominator of any point of success is consistency. You will not see success without consistency. And then, if I need to break up my day, I want to do more cardio again. So just, after lunch, after this podcast, I'm going to eat something. I'm going to run. I'm going to jump in the sauna, and then it's back to work. So again, scheduling this stuff out, guys, figuring out what's going on in your current shifts as life ebbs and flows. Be aware of it. Create the change. Now, bottom line for this episode, guys, muscle up, live long. Training in the gym is not just for beach season. It's not just for bodybuilders. There are a ton of health benefits, not just long-term. That's what we focused on today is, as we age, but in the here and now, so many great things happen from resistance training. It's not all about how you look. It's about being healthy. So we're going to wrap it up here. Where can they find you?
I'm at Alessandra Skutnik.
I'm at Josh Skutnik.
Everything else you need is linked in the show notes.